The Red Captain looks like a hero full of justice, but in reality, he is killing his own teammates without mercy. Ever since the Blue Captain passed away, the weekly monster fake matches have been missing one slot, completely messing up their perfect formation. At the start of this episode, before the Red Captain could even shout his justice slogan, the team members had already wiped out all the small minions on the field. If the Blue Captain were still here, he would definitely have teamed up with the Red Captain to show off. But now, with only one monster left, the Red Captain decided to handle it personally, throwing a mighty justice punch at the enemy. But before his fist even touched the monster, his own helmet got smashed to pieces first. Because the fight was so brutal, the TV station quickly cut to beautiful scenery to cover it up, and when the screen returned, the monster was already lying on the ground, skin torn and broken, but the twisted Red Captain still wasn't satisfied, summoning a divine artifact from the sky, ready to finish the battle with the dragon god Shockwave. The team members panicked, immediately instructing the audience to evacuate, but before they could finish speaking, the battle had already ended. After the battle, the entire team sat around for a meal, and when the Red Captain signaled for tea, he was annoyed that he had to open his mouth to ask for it, thinking this kind of small matter should have been handled without him speaking. The Pink Captain recommended Letian to take on the assistant role since she had helped recover parts of the lost divine artifact, but the Red Captain rejected the idea outright, saying her face looked too much like an enemy's, and she was far inferior to Faikon. When Faikon was mentioned, the Red Captain suddenly fell into self-blame, regretting how he had once killed him so harshly, and Mengzi couldn't help but mock, saying even someone as cruel as him could feel guilt. The Red Captain flew into a rage, grabbing her mouth, but then shifted the topic, saying the most urgent task now was to find a successor for the Blue Captain. Xiao Ting, as the Blue Captain's acting agent, should have been the natural choice, but the Red Captain strongly opposed it, saying her short stature would ruin the team's mighty image. Just as the Red Captain was passionately arguing, the assistant rushed in a panic. At the same time, the Monster Brother had officially joined the team, secretly planning to defeat the remaining Dragon God Watchers one by one, and eventually take down the big villain Permatrolla. The next morning, Nichihui's sister invited him for a walk, and while she appeared calm, she had been looking forward to this date since dawn, dreaming that her brother would join the pink team, and just imagining it made her so happy she could faint, but the Monster Brother quietly guessed he would probably be assigned to the red team, which was exactly what he wanted, so he could have a chance to take out the Red Captain. After their walk, the Monster Brother and Boju were called to the green team's base, where in the park, Fai Kui lay on a stone bench and told them they had been assigned to the green team, which was the decision made by all the teams after discussion. The Monster Brother felt a bit disappointed since he had planned to assassinate the Red Captain, but what Fai Kui said next caught his interest. The green team's job was to hunt down the monster cadres hiding in the city, and it turned out that besides Permatrolla, there were other cadres still hidden in the shadows. Hearing this, the Monster Brother instantly became alert. The Red Captain finally realized that the Monster Brother might have already infiltrated the team, so to uncover the truth, he immediately sent out attendants to investigate secretly. Meanwhile, the Red Captain was troubled by two thorny issues. First, members of the Red team had been continuously attacked by mysterious monsters, with many brutally torn apart. Second, the monster cadre 4 snakes had suddenly appeared. On the other side, the disfigured Nichihui had finally begun his revenge. The Monster Brother and a newly joined female team member were carrying out their first mission, which turned out to be throwing out the trash, making the Monster Brother quite dissatisfied that his first official task as a team member was to clean up. Back in the messy office, the Monster Brother couldn't help but complain, questioning if this was really the environment of a formal team, when Fai Kui suddenly entered, and the revenge-hungry Monster Brother quickly asked about the Green Captain's whereabouts, only to learn from Fai Kui that the captain was out on a mission and that the Green team only had 4 people, revealing that the special unit was basically just Fai Kui, the captain, the newly arrived Monster Brother, and Boju. To help the newcomers understand their work, Fai Kui shared critical information. There were 12 monster cadres hidden in the city, each corresponding to a different sound effect. Fai Kui explained further that the Permatrolla they fought before corresponded to the sound effect Dragon, and so far, the Dragon God Watchers had only eliminated 7 cadres, leaving 5 still hiding in the city, which was the Green team's main mission. While speaking, Fai Kui urged the Monster Brother to keep cleaning, but unable to bear it any longer, the Monster Brother secretly planned to first get rid of the Green Captain and then Fai Kui. At that moment, Boju suddenly appeared holding a booklet recording all previous Green team members, and strangely, all these members had mysteriously disappeared. Just as the Monster Brother was pondering over this oddity, Fai Kui suddenly gathered them for a mission. The 3 of them arrived at the slums, where an informant named Qiansui shared crucial news about a suspicious group recently calling themselves the Rattlesnakes, who were occupying an abandoned school and were likely linked to the monster cadres. Fai Kui quickly led the team to the scene, where they found the missing teenagers gathered, and suddenly, one of them rushed at Fai Kui with a knife, its tip aimed directly at him. Fujibayashi picked out a boy named Shimu from the crowd to help with the investigation, and Shimu stared at the Monster Brother's face before suddenly saying that someone who looked exactly like him had come by a few days ago, which the monster brother hastily denied. During their conversation, it was revealed that Jimmu was a truant who had lost faith in the big teams since Captain Mudolan's death, saying, "You guys can't protect anyone." Faikui fell silent, unable to refute this truth. Meanwhile, Jiandu suspected privately that the person Shimu mentioned might have been Nichihui. The scene shifted to Fujibayashi, meeting secretly with a mysterious figure who said in a sinister voice, "I'm not good at dealing with Faikui, so why don't we just make him disappear?" As Faikui prepared to leave empty-handed, Shimu suddenly ran up and asked them to come back tomorrow. The next day, when Faikui led the team back to the site, the scene before them shocked everyone. With the clear ringing of a bell, the previously run-down school building had become completely new, and Jimmu excitedly ran over from a distance to greet them. But before anyone could react, a strange scene played out again as Fujibayashi reappeared, and the hand mirror that was damaged before was now perfectly intact. Faikui's eyes sharpened, and without hesitation she pulled out a dagger and stabbed it straight toward the opponent's heart. She charged again with the knife, but just as a nearby student shouted that she was violating school rules, time reset once more, and Faikui quickly sprinted toward the school gate. In that instant, everyone finally realized that the cadre Shesh Makatia was right here, and Faikui rushed back, announcing a terrifying truth to everyone. They were trapped in a time loop, and if they tried to leave the school gates, the guards would stop them, and if they tried to force their way through, the moment someone yelled about breaking school rules, time would reset again. She strictly ordered everyone to obey all school rules, but the monster brother, who had never attended school, had no idea about these rules, and while everyone else was attentively in class, she boldly started eating her lunch, instantly causing time to rewind to the very beginning again. Faikui furiously warned that if anyone broke the rules again, she would make them personally feel the pain of time resetting. Qiansui suddenly patted the monster brother's shoulder, saying, "Nichihui, weren't you a top student back then? How do you not even know the rules now?" Making the monster brother instantly realize that Qiansui already knew the real Nichihui, and to avoid exposing his identity, he decided to be extra cautious in front of Qiansui. When taking out the trash, Bojio keenly sensed the monster brother's odd behavior and patted his shoulder, saying, "You've never been to school, have you? Relax. If you have any trouble in school, you can come to me." When everyone noticed that Bojio's memories were beginning to blur, they quickly tried to wake him, but just 2.5 seconds later, he reverted back to being an NPC within the loop. Fortunately, after this reset, the sharp-eyed Qiansui discovered a critical clue, summarizing a new rule that even if no one broke the school rules, time would still reset at the end of the school day. While the three of them were discussing their next steps, Boju suddenly brought Fujibayashi to the rooftop to catch someone, and though Qiansui had confirmed that going to the rooftop was not against the rules, the moment he flipped open the rulebook, he was shocked to see a new rule had been added. When they met Principal Shanna, Hannon's pupils shrank, and before he could speak, the principal directly triggered a reset by accusing them of breaking the rules, leaving the protagonist and Qiansui completely confused when they came to their senses again. Why was the principal, wearing a green team uniform, now their enemy? Without explaining, Hannon went alone to the principal's office, and upon seeing that face again, he was certain it was their long-missing teammate Wakaba. Wakaba had once been an elite member of the Kasatia search team, but had mysteriously disappeared 4 years ago. Now, even though Wakaba claimed his memories had returned, Hanan remained on guard. Just as Hanan turned to leave, Wakaba suddenly attacked, but Hanan was ready, flinging a shuriken at him, only for it to be blocked by a wall of stone that rose abruptly. Wakaba smugly revealed the replica divine artifact Okunanushi, a treasure that could control rocks, and as Wakaba pressed his hands together, 2 giant stones smashed together violently. In a critical moment, Hanan unleashed his power with the gem god's strength and managed to separate his soul from his body just in time as Wakaba made rocks rain down like a storm. Hanan dodged desperately, barely avoiding being crushed several times, and in a decisive moment he lunged at Wakaba, biting hard at his throat. But Wakaba hastily summoned a giant stone to block, and with a sharp crack, the rock was bitten apart, saving him from instant death. Okunanushi, as the divine artifact of the Choban formation, indeed had the upper hand against the gem god. As the sharp school bell rang, Hanan and the others fell back into the time loop, but this time was different, a strong dizziness almost knocking Hanan to the ground, and when he instinctively pushed away a passerby's helping hand, he was accused of harming a teammate, triggering yet another reset. 2 consecutive resets left Hanan feeling like he was living through hell, and he left the crowd alone, needing to calm down and think clearly. With Hanan's condition worsening, the responsibility of investigating Kasaga fell entirely on the protagonist, and the feeling of being toyed with by the enemy fueled his rage. He kicked a vending machine hard, which suddenly malfunctioned and clattered out a pile of drinks, making the protagonist close his eyes in despair, thinking another reset was coming, but miraculously, time did not reset. A golden light flashed in Qiansui's eyes as he instantly realized a new rule. In this timeline, as long as no one witnessed the violation, there would be no punishment. "A loophole is all we need," he said excitedly, rummaging through his bag and tossing out a mechanical gecko that greedily recorded everything without being noticed, gathering intelligence in secret. Suddenly, the loudspeaker called them to report to the office, and when he pushed open the door, the empty office held only Tangling. Seeing no one else around, Tangling dropped his disguise, smirking as he handed over an expulsion notice saying, "A freak like you doesn't deserve to stay here." In a flash of cold light, the protagonist's sword was out, but this time, Tangling did not trigger a reset. Tangling had long noticed something was wrong, as everyone was gradually becoming assimilated, yet the protagonist remained fully conscious. It was only after Tangling once cut the protagonist in half that the truth came out. The protagonist was actually a monster who had never attended school, so he was not bound by the school's rules, making him unkillable within this system. "Killing you is easier than crushing an ant," Tangling sneered, only to discover the protagonist truly couldn't die. Tangling then tried to trap him using the office cabinet, and during their clash, the protagonist was shocked to find out that Tangling was a human who had voluntarily sided with Kasatia's monster cadres, and this position of a human aiding monsters was so similar to the protagonist's current situation that it was chilling. Tangling then revealed a cruel truth. All these students had chosen to stay here willingly, tired of the chaos of the outside world, seeking only a place of refuge, but the protagonist refused to accept any of this, ignoring Tangling's explanations. While they were deadlocked, Tangling suddenly used a bright light to blind the protagonist and seize the dragon god armor, and as the damaged objects around them began repairing themselves automatically, the air filled with a strange energy pulse. Just how far had this senior brother's transformation gone that once the second-ranked member of the green team had now turned traitor to join the monster cadres, even sneak attacking and taking down the high-ranking Choban So? It turned out that after the protagonist was expelled from the illusion space, Faikui had begun searching for him everywhere, and just thinking that the protagonist might already be dead, 8 years old, he had been taken in by the Seisui, living dangerous floating castle hovered over everyone's heads every day, and yet no one seemed to find it strange. As a victim, Faikui couldn't understand, so he sought out the battle team member who had felt arrogant regret, wishing he hadn't let the protagonist go and the older officer. At this critical moment, the younger officer's years of serve came any closer, he would kill Faikui, then violently kicked Faikui's head, planning to make him witness the protagonist attacking the principal at the end of the time cycle so time would reset again. But he didn't know Faikui had already woken up, only pretending to be asleep, and all the brainwashing before had been an act because he couldn't accept this broken reality, and after being hit so hard, he only wanted to stay in the dream forever since he had no one left worth fighting for. After realizing this, he wasted no who had been knocked away, stood up again, knowing he was too exhausted to be their match, so triggering time resets and observing if his behavior changed, they could confirm the truth. Faikui quickly understood the protagonist's intention and took on the risk of breaking the rules while gated, and just as Makatia was about to kill Faikui, Chansui suddenly burst in. The protagonist cursed, yelling at him to run because monster was also a part of reality, leaving the protagonist no choice but to let it go. Meanwhile, this Daily News was reporting the previous attack incident, but what was originally reported as a monster attack was changed under a single phone call from the Red Captain into a story about a lion escaping from the zoo and a merchant with a dragon costume, successfully covering up the damaging news, and the Red Captain was very satisfied, quickly rushing to a kindergarten to act vigilant in front of the children. But unexpectedly, among those children was a witness to the actual monster attack.